Okay, so this is our first ever podcast video on this channel. Actually, to be honest, I did this already with someone, but unfortunately it didn't work out the way that I wanted to be. Just like a lot of things in life, but it's okay because that shouldn't stop anyone having facing the failure. And then actually most people would have quit because it's not easy to stare at the failure and say, I can accept this and I'm prepared for more. Most people wouldn't want to face the failure, so they stay calm and they stay normal. Nothing wrong with it, but this would be a huge milestone, an obstacle in a lot of people's way to become great. Anyway, I wanted to start this podcast or series of different episodes revolving around different topics and whatnot. And because I wanted to gather people from different places, different countries, maybe even different age, to talk about problems that we'd have to go to therapy, to pay for therapy to talk about, because most people are in a hurry. They're always chasing after something or someone, and they don't have the time or the right people to sit down and talk to. And hence, the modern loneliness is, I would say, almost incurable. It is, however, curable with the right people, with the right environment. And that's what I wanted to create on this channel with these podcasts. Of course, I've just started, really. This is like the first ever episode. And it's also been a very long time since I've made any content creation, since I've done any content creation or any online videos. And mostly they were edited so I could keep on trying until I get the right take. You know, there was not a single take and this is it. There was no room for me to, there would be no room for me to fail, which is why before I was also scared of failure. I always wanted to get the perfect take, or somewhat the one that was acceptable. But this is also a place where I want myself and the viewers who are watching or listening to improve themselves in a way that is natural. Not being forced by your parents, not being coerced by your by your colleagues, by your friends, by society. Because most of the days we want to be better, not because we actually want to be better, but because of certain conditions we would meet when we are better. For example, we become richer, we become more connected with people, your friend circle expands. Generally, your social circle expands. You get into better relationships, which was actually the topic that I wanted to discuss today. Relationships. Everyone's favorite topic, to be honest. Everyone loves this. We could talk about this forever and forever, but don't worry, we got the time. But anyway, jumping into the topic, I wanted to talk about what is relationship or what is love in general, right? Starting from myself, I have been very unsuccessful when it comes to relationships and love. I've looked for someone my whole life, someone that I could rely on, dependent on, emotionally mostly. But I never found the one. Never found the one. Of course, I'm only 21. This is not a, I'm like, 50 and I'm gonna die alone, that sort of thing. No. I still have loads and loads of time. But I would like to send out this message for those who are listening and watching, the people of either younger or older or of the same age. You don't need to rush this thing. Ready? And if you rush it, I'll tell you what happens, because I've experienced it. You will feel an emptiness in your relationship sooner or later. And this emptiness is only going to expand. You cannot ignore it. You may pretend that it doesn't exist. Maybe even after years and years of effort, just trying to connect you two together. But it wouldn't work. In the end, it will fall apart. Period. And so, and I hate to be the guy to say this, because I hate it when other people tell me this, but love does find you. The perfect relationship will find you. And before that happens, you have, I would say, a chance to prove yourself, not to others, but to yourself, of how competent and adequate you are in terms of many perspectives, many aspects, financially, emotionally, physically. There are a lot of things that you actually need to get better at before you jump into a relationship. Because if you didn't do it, right, that usually means you're gonna find out things you don't like about yourself once you're in a relationship, when it's already too late and you're trying to fix it. And the other person would also see that. And if you are insecure, right, then it's going to be hard for you to hide it. And if you don't deal with it emotionally or finding a solution to it, then you would start to hate yourself more, and that hate is going to grow onto the other person as well. It's going to be shown through the little actions that you do on a daily basis. The smallest thing can be so impactful, right? And then with time, all the emotions, all the negative emotions accumulates, and boom, one day it all goes to shit. So why do we want a relationship? Why do we want to find the one who we spend so much time seeking? I think the reason we want someone is very simple. It's actually a lot simpler than most people think. Some people say it's for sex. Some people say it's for financial gains. Some people are after very superficial things that come out of the relationship, but I don't think that's the reason that deeply all of us want it. I think the reason why we want the relationship, the reason why we want love, the reason why we want someone is at the end of the day when we come back home, and there is a place called home, and that place is that person. No matter how tough your day was, you come back home and you sit down. Either you watch some TV or you cook together, or you watch a film, or you cuddle, or you have sex. At the end of the day, after that, none of the things that happened throughout the day that made you feel worse, made you feel like a piece of shit, none of that mattered. Because that person, that home, has provided you the safety feeling that we all crave, to feel safe, to feel secure. And a lot of people are not feeling secure in their home with their parents, right? If you're underaged, or if you have parents, that's another topic, but it's not often that there is a healthy family. And usually that is the main reason why we want a relationship, because we want to find someone that could replace the love that we were never given as a kid, because the way that our parents raised us was way too toxic. That could be one reason why we want a relationship. It could be another reason. Could be just loneliness. We feel too lonely in this world. Constantly there is something happening. War, problems, generally. Right? In this broken world, we don't have much except love. Love is the only thing that could make anything better, much better. A bad movie would not be a bad movie when you watched with your loved ones, because you're not focusing on the movie. And it's not about the movie, it's about that person who you spent watching it with. And I think that's the feeling that we all want. Rather not focusing on the problematic things in the world, but to focus on something great, something wholesome, something heartwarming. And it's not easy, of course, right? It's not easy to find something like that. And I spent a very long time of my life trying to figure out, how do I find the perfect relationship? How do I find the perfect love? How do I find the perfect partner? Well, now I know the answer. The answer is you don't. You really don't. If you intentionally seek the person that will love you, you're not looking for love, you're looking for validations. Because when you are intentionally looking for someone, you're not showing yourself, you're showing what is the best part of yourself. And love isn't about loving someone who is the most handsome or the richest or whatever qualities you have that are the best of you. Now it's about loving the worst of you. It's about knowing what makes you tick. What is your worst qualities? What is your worst habits? What is the worst trait of your personality? And still, knowing all of that, the other person says, you know what? I accept who you are. And actually, I quite like that. Instead of meeting someone who tell you, oh, you look amazing, you look absolutely attractive, and then when they see your ugly side, they run away. And so for the people out there who are single and who are desperate for love, desperate for something, my advice is it's not a good idea, especially during that time. When you feel the loneliness, when you feel the struggle of overcoming certain obstacles in your life, and no matter if it's emotionally or maybe physically as well, academically, whatever, right? School, family, job. These are the worst times. And these are the times you especially these times, you don't go for other people's validations. Because it's a bottomless pit and you're never gonna get what you want. At least not in a healthy way. And so, and that was the lesson I learned after a long time. Because there was a time that I spent money, time, energy, for example, on dating apps. I was lonely. I was really lonely. Probably one of the loneliest phases of my life. It was during the high school, or after high school, rather. And there was so much loneliness, so much unspoken words. I wanted to speak with someone, and the touch of someone's skin on my skin. I think that was the reason why I was such a hopeless romantic. The inner child that wanted the love that my parents never gave me, well, not in the way that I wanted them to give me. So I would say I wasted a lot of time and energy. Wasted, but not wasted, because I learned the lesson. So it's not entirely wasted, you know. It will be wasted if I'm still doing it. It will be wasted if I didn't learn anything out of this. And so after I realized chasing after people, chasing after these girls, chasing after this idea of love, right? It was never gonna lead me to anywhere. And so I stopped. But there's another phase afterwards that really bothered me. In my head, I was thinking, what if I'm never gonna find love? What if I'm never gonna find anyone? What if I'm not gonna meet someone like in the movies? this idea of love was never going to be fulfilled by anyone. And to be honest, that drove me crazy. That really drove me crazy for a while. And I was stopping myself from going back the old ways, going on dating apps and temporal stuff. But it was the best time to work on myself, because that's when I realized how much I needed to work on myself. There was so much mess up in my head that I didn't notice, I didn't hear until I isolated myself from everything and everyone else. Not in a toxic way or not in a bad way, just having my own time and embrace the loneliness. That was when I heard all the voices the clearest, and that was the most painful time of my life. Nights and days I spent having mental breakdowns, hurting myself physically, and crying and all that. But it is also from those moments I learned most of what I know now. And I made peace. I made peace with myself. There were times that I really struggled to answer the question, what if I'm never, ever going to find love? Meaning, I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to have my own family. And that really bothered me. That really, really bothered me, because I am a person who dreamed of having this as a kid. And I mean really dreamed. But then one day I was like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay that I'm never gonna find someone. It'll be okay if I don't have family. Because I dropped what was most important to me at the time, and that was a game changer. I managed to drop my obsession, so to say. It wasn't pure intention. It wasn't out of love. It was out of a quest, a mission to accomplish these things, because these were what I wanted. And I set them as goals, as if it were plans and steps to achieve these things. But that's not love. That's not how love works, or healthy relationships, or marriage works. These things don't just come to you when you want them to. No. It's only happening if you're ready. And how do you know you're ready? You don't. And that's another headache, really. And I'm still struggling with that every day. Thinking to myself, how in the hell I'm going to make peace with that? Quick answer for now is you don't. I'm also working on that myself, learning how to embrace the I embrace the part that things will just happen. They'll come to you when it's the right time. But then I wake up every day and I think to myself, God, when is it? What day is which day is gonna be, right? It's gonna be next week, next month, maybe even tomorrow, right? Or next year, or in 10 years. Fucking you never know. And that's the part that bothered most people, I would say. Especially deep especially during the night, right before you go to bed. Or for some people who have insomnia, never. And these questions just pop in your head and they're killing you. They're eating your brain from inside out. And yeah. And I think this will take some time for me, right? This is gonna be a hell of a problem. And right now I'm currently dealing with, I would call it maybe the last phase before finding the one, which is the loneliness, and it's really the loneliness. This is when you already have gone through the depression phase of being alone, and you think to yourself, it is okay to be by yourself. But there are moments in your life, days where you just cannot handle it. You think to yourself, all of your friends have got into a relationship, and very healthy ones as well, and they might get married, and you're by yourself just doing nothing. You don't have anyone that are interested in you, and you also are not interested in anyone. And so how do you overcome that? I would say through activities, doing things, working on yourself professionally or emotionally or physically, whatever, right? And for example, for me, well, as a piano, because I am a music student, I'm a pianist, and for me that would be achieving my dream, which is become a concert pianist. Then, to be honest, there are days that I don't even want to practice. Actually, a lot of us don't want to practice some days on the in the academy. But for example, for me, I could improve this, and it will fill up my time, right? And I've got other responsibilities, and perhaps also jobs, right? And I think you should first work on yourself to stabilize your life in terms of having a place to live, having a stable job, having a stable emotional state, like mental state. And when you've achieved all of this, then you go for the extraordinary, like the additional achievements you could accomplish. And that could fill your head with ideas, with thoughts, with lessons, knowledge. That will naturally fill up your time, your free time, that you would have spent on overthinking if you didn't do these things. So these are a great replacement of whatever you have in your head, those voices, to basically occupy yourself with work. This is what it is. And I think this might be the end of our first episode. It's not a long one. It's not exactly like 1 hour like all these other podcasts, professional ones, But we will be talking about this, which is learning how to be yourself and just stick with it, right? We'll talk about this also, because this is what I'm doing. I don't want to compromise myself to please anyone. I don't want to change myself for anyone. I'm not looking for validations. I'm not looking for anyone to like me, because what's the point? That is not real. It's all superficial, it's all fake, and it's temporary. And so, another message, and I believe this is the last message for everyone, which is stop being scared of who you can be. But be scared of who you want to be for others, not for yourself. Because who you can be or who you could be, it could be much bigger than who you want to be. And that's why they say dream big, never dream small. If you dream small, it's not a dream. It's just another day, another goal, another set of plans and tasks. It's not a dream. And I have dream of my own. I have plans of my own for this channel, for other things as well, for piano, like I said. And this is the beginning of my journey. And I'd be more than happy to continue this on a daily basis. Hopefully, it will be a very frequent thing. I don't want it to be like a daily basis thing, like every day, because I will be exhausted. But I want to keep this going. I think this will be a pretty interesting journey. The beginning of another journey of my own. Yeah. And it's a pretty good opportunity for myself to just yap about, because I yap a lot. I mean, normally with strangers I don't, or normal friends, but close ones I do yap a lot, and those who know me very closely, they know me. So, and also the viewers and listeners of this channel, because this is pretty much what you're gonna get when you come here, listening to me yap about random things in life. Well, not random, life basically, right? Problems and some of my own perspective solutions, and also a place for other people to just share their ideas and experiences at here, because I want this to be a safe place for most people to be able to share their journey for other people to grow, because this is what we're doing in life. We learn from others' stories and journeys and experiences, right? It's never about us. It's always about other people, and this is how you learn the fastest and the easiest. Right. Well, I said I wanted to end it like 10 minutes ago probably, but still didn't end. But either way, right? This is what this is how it's gonna be. This is my podcast, the beginning of it all. So I do hope in the future there will be someone joining me. I wouldn't be talking to myself. Someone that can hop on the video together with me. And it will happen. It will happen. Maybe it will take a year or two, but it will happen. So thank you for listening, or thank you for watching. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.